Hey. It's Yassine again, coming to you from Field Service USA. And I am excited to welcome Charles Hughes on FXL Live. Charles, welcome to the show.
Happy
Really
to be
excited
here.
to have you on here. We've been, I've been talking to a lot of folks and a lot of experts and attendees, around transforming, field service organizations. And it's a one thing to really, talk to a solution provider or to a consultant, and no disrespect, right? They all bring value to the conversation, but I think we can get a whole another perspective from a practitioner who's actually been through this transformational journey and has done it multiple times to really give us advice and surface insights around what are some of the pitfalls when it comes to transforming your field organization, and how do you even start thinking about transforming your field service organization? And anyway, what does transforming field organization even means? Again, we only have so much time
Sure.
to cover these topics, and I'm sure we'll have much more conversations beyond this episode. But I want to take a crack at it to at least start surfacing up this conversation, put it out there, and then attract more leaders such as yourself, so we can have a deeper, more meaningful conversation and get into a little bit more practice, right? I'm tired of coming to events and living with great ideas, but then when I'm back to my operation, nothing gets translated. Charles, would you please give us a quick background about your role at Highwire Network?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of great comments that we'll touch on. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Highwire Networks. We do IT professional and managed services. So if you think about any of your normal network infrastructure type work, data center installations, large scale rollouts, we can do those implementation models. And then we also do the day two support. So we really look at things at more of a strategic level, not just a transactional, go do this job and move on to the next. We like to build that relationship so we can provide that long-term value to the customer.
Absolutely. And throughout the life cycle of the asset, from all the way from procuring, installing, servicing, and disposing the asset, you cover the entire asset life cycle.
So we work with channel partners only. So we
Okay.
don't go directly to the end customer. And usually the way our engagement works, our channel partner has sold a solution, they sold
Okay.
hardware, and then we're their delivery arm. Now,
Okay.
as part of that, we'll implement and install it. We can maintain it. We dispose of the old equipment, ship it back, whatever disposition instructions they have. We're generally not selling hardware, but we are the service support for it going forward.
Awesome. And so you're mainly around installation and service.
Correct.
Those are the two main components. So awesome. And when it comes to transforming a field service operation, when you hear transformation, what does that even mean to you, Charles, as a C-suite executive running the operation of a well-established brand? What does transforming field service organization mean to you?
Well, transforming it, and that's the broader term that I like to use. A lot of people, they interchange transformation, turnaround, crisis management, but I consider those subsets. So at the highest level, you have a transformation. You're in one state, now you're going to become into another state. It could be turnaround management. You have an organization who's not performing well, so now you have to turn them around to get them performing well. But transformation also covers organizations that are very successful. One of the companies I worked for had a field service organization, had been there for 20 plus years. The customer was extremely happy with what they were doing, but what they were doing wouldn't take them where the company needed to go next. So it was more of a change direction of doing something different. And so you have different nuances like that when it comes to transformation. But that's why I like to consider it transformation. Because the reality is, it's the same steps, whether it's an underperforming organization or an organization that needs to be taken in a different direction.
Right. So transformation can be revolutionary or it can be evolutionary.
Absolutely.
Right. And it can apply to turning around an underperforming organization, or it could be really leveling up and innovating, disrupting the status quo of a current organization who may be successful to a large degree. Um, and so, as a service leader, uh, right now, like, what about your organization? Are you now focused on transforming at this time?
So the way we're looking at the business now, everybody's still coming up out of COVID.
Yeah.
We went through that like everybody else. It was a very difficult time, but we managed it very well. And we came out in a good position to continue to grow. So what we focused on is how do we expand our portfolio?
Yep.
Take our existing customers. Yeah, I gotta lean into this a little
Yes,
bit more.
please. Thank you.
So got to take our existing customers, get broader with them, get in deeper with them, then also add new logos into it. And a lot of that comes into how you structure the deals. We have some partners that are transactional in nature. They send an order over, we fulfill it, and we move on to the next one, rinse, wash, and repeat. But what we really look for is that strategic relationship where we move upstream with our partner towards the end customer with the solution design and package everything up. We don't look at, or we try not to look at the implementation as a solo item, and then later let's talk about what day 2 support would look like. Package those up all together. Have it as one value proposition, because that's really what it comes down to. And then how we go to market with that strategy. And that really does impact how your field team delivers on it, because they have to support that strategy. They have to understand it, be in sync with it, and getting them to realize it's more than just this one transaction at that customer. It's a recurring transaction. It's a relationship.
Interesting. So you're more talking about connecting your go-to-market motion and its impact on field service operation, and how you transform your relationship with your channel partner,
right,
and how you go to market, how you structure deals will eventually have a ripple effect on how the implementation goes on in the field.
It has to. And I've seen companies, they put marketing, sometimes marketing is embedded under sales. And to us, marketing is a strategic initiative. Marketing is a C-level activity for us. So the marketing message that goes out to your customers and to the industry, people hear that, they see it, they believe it. Now, when your technician shows up on site to deliver it, it really better match what that marketing strategy was. Because otherwise, you're either showing a disconnect, which is never good, or you're not successfully executing on that market strategy. If you can't see it in front of the customer in action, then there's something broken along that path. And getting the field team to understand that and to pay attention. Field techs look at marketing as, oh, that's what those guys in the back office do. It doesn't. I'm the one who does the real work out here, right, and I'm the one the customer likes. And there's a lot of truth to that. So, but if you align them, that's how you grow your market share. That's how you get in deeper with those customers.
And what's stopping you right now from evolving or transforming that go-to-market motion with your channel partners to be involved early on in the cycle? Like, what's preventing that?
It's not so much a prevention as how some of our channel partners prefer to work.
Okay.
We do have channel partners where we're an equal seat at the table with the end customer. All of our partners are usually very transparent with the customer about what our relationship is. It's just that some companies prefer to manage that customer directly. Others like to take our expertise and put it in front of the customer, especially if we do something that they're not as familiar with. So one of the advantages of working with companies like us is you have a channel partner who maybe doesn't have expertise in break fix maintenance in this certain sector of the industry. Well, we have that expertise. So while they develop it inherently, they not only leverage our field resources, they level our leadership experience, our industry knowledge, and our best practices to really accelerate their penetration into that market.
I love it. So one area of focus when it comes to transforming your organization today has one area is the relationship with the channel partner. How can we evolve this relationship so that we can impact at the end of the day, or so we can drive forward that desired outcome for the customer? What are other areas you look at through this transformational lens right now in your operation, other than your relationship with channel partners? What are some other areas you're focused on transforming?
when we talk about that connection from the corporate strategy down to delivery, it's the entire channel throughout the company, and making sure everybody's in sync. From when we receive the quote, how do we respond to it? How do we structure that deal? When the account executive's dealing with the partner, how does he present it so that he's presenting part of the portfolio that demonstrates the value? So you first win the deal, so you can deliver on it. And then the field is just an extension of the project delivery team. So the project management office has to be in sync with that as well. The bridge teams have to be in sync. Our dispatch center has to be in sync. So it's just a really matter of making sure that we have that smooth customer experience from start to finish.
Yes. And so what are some of the bottlenecks in that flow that you had to, like, what are some of the bigger bottlenecks that you had to deal with since joining Highwire Network that you had to transform in order to get that flow smooth?
Well, the biggest bottleneck we had was COVID.
Right.
That put a lot of things down. Actually, it's been extremely smooth. The company was set up in a way where they're always open to the innovation and to the transformation. So that part's really been making sure that we properly document everything, have solid processes in place, have a good communications throughout there. Anytime I enter into a transformation project, there's a couple things that you do. The first thing is, don't assume that what the people are doing today is wrong. That's the biggest mistake. I've got to come in here and we're going to do some change management. Do you guys do anything wrong? Well, if they're doing everything wrong, if you have an organization of 500 people, you don't have 500 people doing the wrong thing. So if they need to change, there's a reason that things aren't working well. So don't assume it's the people's fault. It usually comes down to process, strategy, or The other part is, don't assume just because you come in and you know what needs to change, that by you saying we're going to change this, that everybody's going to jump on board. You got to develop that culture. I was at one company, and within the first 30 days, I had a list of what needed to change. And we're talking probably a $10 to $15 million annual cost savings on that list.
Wow.
But I spent about 6 months before I packed that list away in my drawer. And I spent about 6 months working with the organization, communicating with them, earning their trust, building trust, between each other, helping them understand the need for change, what was driving it. And then as the team came up with all these ideas of what we should change, I started checking off the list. So when you never shared the list. Never shared the list. But what you do is you help them understand why you need to change.
Wow. That's powerful.
I'm a believer that nobody knows how to do work better than the people doing the work. Give them a chance to let do it. Give them a chance to tell you what keeps them from being their absolute best, and then get those obstacles out of the way. And that's where you come up with the best solution.
Such a key takeaway. Instead of you telling people, trying to convince people of the conclusion that you got to, how can you have them come to that conclusion themselves? Because then it's their thought, it's their idea, it's not your idea, your list, it's their list. There's a lot of brilliance and wisdom in that, Charles. But it took 6 months.
It took 6 months, but this was also an organization of about 700 people. So smaller groups, you can move faster. But there's another trick to this too. I may have a list of 10 items, and so I'm socializing, I'm talking about the future of the company, what we need to do, so you can paint that picture. Now, what you also find out is, hey, they came up with these same 5 ideas. Then you look at idea 6, and you know what? I'm taking that off the list because they came up with something better. And so now that list of 10 things may still be 10, but it might be a different 10 things.
Right.
So the other thing I tell people, don't go in there assuming just because you think this is what needs to change, that it really is. You should have faith in yourself. I worked a lot of years working on this gut. I might as well trust it, right? But be open to the idea that maybe they know better. And then when they do, incorporate that into it. And then what happens is you've got everybody pulling in the same direction. You don't have people fight. People, they hate change. It's just human nature.
Yes.
But if you bring them along at the right pace, in some places, done in a matter of weeks. Some places, 6 months. Transformation, though, is a continuing journey. So whatever time you spend up front developing that culture and that mindset, it's going to pay off for years. Because when the new guy you hire now, he's embedded in that culture. That's how he started.
No, that's fantastic, right? And a lot of people hear culture, build a culture of innovation, build a culture of disruption, build a culture of excellence, and it's a great concept. But how do we put it in practice? How did you put it in practice, Charles? Like, how did you literally in practice started building a culture of excellence of innovation that had them come to the conclusion the same way that you came to, but instead of you empowered them, you educated them, and then now they own that solution instead of you pushing it on them.
Right.
Now they own that idea. It's there's accountability, inherent accountability to it. So how do you start building that culture, or invigorating or upgrading the current culture that you have from? I don't want to call it a culture of underperformance, but a culture where good is good enough. Right. So how do you battle good enough?
Or a culture of complacency.
So complacency, you put it probably in a more, in a better word. But so where do you start? How do you start in practice? I don't want theories. You're a turnaround expert. You're a transformational leader. How do you start?
The first thing is respect. You got to respect the people, no matter what you're in there to do. They're doing what they believe is. I firmly believe everybody wants to do a good job. And if you give them the opportunity, they will. So show them respect, earn their trust, communicate with them. If you get those three out of the way, you're halfway there. The approach, though, you take as far as getting them to come to the right conclusion or coming up with a good conclusion, it's the same. Let's take it down to an individual contributor. So let's say you have an employee who's not performing well, and you got to put them on a performance plan. You'll see managers that'll spend hours writing a performance plan. Here's what you're not doing right. I want you to start doing A, B, C, and D, or else. Here's your plan. Go do it. That plan will fail because I've given you my plan for you to succeed. Instead, we have a conversation of, listen, here's my expectations. Here's what you're supposed to be doing. Here's where we're falling short. Why are we falling short? What do you think we can do to step up your performance? Now, your feedback may be, well, I'm falling short because what you want me to do is stupid. Okay, tell me why it's stupid. You may find out maybe you're right, I am wrong. But as you talk through it, and you get them on the same page as, no, you're right, I really should be doing this. Then help them understand what's preventing them from doing it. Then how can I help you eliminate those obstacles? So now it's us working together on a solution instead of me hitting your solution. And if you're doing that across a large organization, you have to work at all levels of that organization. COO has to work with the VPs, but he also has to work with the directors, the managers. I spend time out there with the technicians doing the work, and you have that good message all the way up and down the organization. And you pull out of them what they have inherent. Like I said, they know how to do the work. They've been doing it for years to do great work. Pull out of them what they need to do better or to change how we're doing it.
Fantastic. So it's through these, so you start building trust by listening to the voice of the customer, whose customer is basically any stakeholder where you're looking to implement that some sort of a transformational initiative. And you start by literally asking them what's their feedback on their situation, how could they fix it, because that may validate or invalidate what you thought is the root cause, but also you get their buy-in, and that's how you build trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, you communicate, you listen to them. And by the way, listening means that you give feedback too. Hey, you know what? I understand why you believe that way, but let me show you some issues we have or how it doesn't fit into our strategy. Or, you know what? That's good feedback. Let me look into it, get back to you, and then come back and, hey, you know, you're right. We're going to start implementing that. Let them see that they can make a change.
I love that. So one of the things that we do is I always make sure that my partner and I take time every week to speak with at least 5 folks and they're typically on the front lines of the operation or the managers, not direct reports. And we do start, stop, keep.
Right.
So what are we doing right now? that we should really stop doing because it's impacting us negatively. What are we not doing right now that we should start doing, and what are the good things that we're doing that we should keep doing and never stop doing? And that surfaces a lot of insight. But you're like, take it a step further, and involve the stakeholders in any transformational initiative by pulling them in, by asking for their feedback, by trying to understand the root cause of the problem using empathy and open-ended questions, because not only that will give you data, qualitative data to really dig in further, but that will get you the buy-in. That's the start of the change management, when you show me that you understand my situation and you're willing to listen. There's this organic buy-in or reciprocity. Okay, you're showing interest and importance, I'm going to show interest and importance in what you think needs to happen in my function or my organization, so we can level it up.
Yeah, and another way to look at it is there's a big difference between you doing what I told you to do, here's my plan to execute. Big difference between that and us developing and executing on a plan together. And if you go that route, that's what's going to get you the success, the buy-in. And sometimes you have that constructive friction, right? You might get a little, hey, I don't agree, and people get passionate about it. And they have to be comfortable with having those conversations. They also have to be comfortable that if we tried it doesn't work, that's okay.
That's okay.
Don't be afraid to fail. My only ask, if we're going to do something and it's going to fail, let's fail fast.
I love that.
That way we can move on to the next thing and we'll eventually find the one that works.
And that takes you back to culture. The culture of radical honesty and thoughtful disagreement.
Yes.
We can be honest with each other and set emotions aside, right? I don't take your personal feedback as attack, but as feedback. And then we have a safe environment for you and I to disagree, whether you're the COO and I'm a officer level employee. It doesn't matter. You can voice out any perspective. We gotta be respectful about
professional with each other.
Yeah, you gotta keep it professional, but you can question anything.
Yeah.
And it's through these thoughtful conversations that's where your breakthrough typically happen. Is people are open because people are open to being honest with you, and that leads to accelerated innovation. Well, this is fantastic, Charles. I wanna, this excites me to dig in more and more into how you approach transformational initiatives, and most importantly, build that culture of transformation. And really, that's the mission of FXL, is to crowdsource the playbook on operational excellence and transformation. And how do practitioners like Charles here go about doing it in the real world, not a seminar conversation or in a book or textbook, but how does it actually play out in the real world? And those are some of the insights that I'm really excited about bringing to the community, and not just one person's opinion, right? I invite you to please chime in the comments about how you go about your transformational initiatives, and what do you consider when you embark on a transformational journey. And from the insights that Charles shares, the insights that you will share, right? Combine them all together into a playbook, and go deeper, right? What 20-minute conversation will not do it right. So this is an invite for us to start really to kick up the conversation and take it forward together as a community, and maybe build a group of 5, 6, 7 C-suite executives focus on building culture of transformation, and really come up with the playbook together and put it into action, into the real world, then come back and report back the results as a group and say, hey, here's what worked, here's what didn't work, so that we can all learn as a community and grow our careers, grow the companies we're building, and deliver build a better world and a better industry for everyone involved. So Charles, thank you so much for your time today. I'm excited to continue this conversation beyond today's episode and dig deeper and collaborate as a community together. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you.